In the past year or so, many Malaysians have initiated campaigns like Kita Malaysia, Malaysians for Malaysia, Saya Anak Bangsa Malaysia. And today we have Niki, who is a blogger, columnist, journalist, who have also initiated these kinds of activities. There's so much of talk around racism or race, ethnicity, being Malaysian. Why do you think after 58 years this has become an obsession?
I think it's twofold. One is that the issues are current. These are things that we've been talking about. We've been dealing with a lot of organizations and things who are coming out talking about these issues. I always tell people the great thing about these horrible things that's happening is it's brought out this whole, as you say, flurry of people coming out to kind of reverse that or...
But Niki, why do you think there is then this, go back to where you come from, balik tongsan or pendatang, you're a foreigner. Why is that there in the first place?
I think it's, again, twofold. I think one is that these are sentiments that are actually not new. You know, I mean, we always talk about how, you know, we romanticize the past and how we used to live together and things, but there were a lot of things that were happening undercurrent. And yes, we lived together and stuff, but there were also all these kind of feelings. I mean, you know, we have policies like the NEP and all that kind of things.
The new economic policy.
That has been making people very uncomfortable for a very long time. And I think that now with social media and the ability to speak up more than just what is controlled within the media that has been traditionally controlled, that all the conversations are happening at different points. My biggest whole thing about discourse is not that we should shut these people up, but the problem is that some people are allowed to speak. And then there's this whole other people who are not. And then you don't have a balanced discourse.
But are you then being very polite then? Are you hitting it on the nail? Because a racist is a racist is a racist.
Yes.
You can't not call a racist out.
Sure.
How should you, how are you responding?
And that's a problem that I do think that Malaysia has. And it's something that I've been thinking about more recently because of this flurry of racism that's happening. Because I feel that we don't acknowledge our racism as much as we should. Mm-hmm. I think that there's this word racism that we're also kind of allergic to because it's such a horrible connotation that we kind of dismiss anything that we do which might be a bit racist as not at all. And when you do that, everybody can use the same argument to say that whatever they're doing is not. And then we don't collectively acknowledge that we have a problem.
But how would you react to somebody who's saying, you're a pendatang, Niki?
I get very upset. So if whenever I see those kind of articles or people saying those things, when I write, I talk about, you know, the fact that I'm 8th generation Malaysian.
Did I hear you right? 8th generation?
8th generation. We've been here for 300 over years. There's nothing in my body that's remotely non-Malaysian, you know. The same with many other Malaysians. Most Malaysians are, you know, have come, the ancestors who come from somewhere. And that's a great thing about countries like, you know, I mean, America has their own problems, but the fact that they acknowledge themselves as a country of immigrants, for example, really is kind of collectively acknowledging that kind of history. And I think that what's not happening with us in Malaysia is that we're not collectively acknowledging certain things about ourselves.
But do you really believe that on the street, on the ground, on a regular basis, there's everyday racism?
I do. And
for instance?
I mean, just sit on the bus, for example, you know, maybe a lot of it is just in your head or perception, but you can tell when certain people choose to sit with certain people. You know, if you see somebody of a particular race, you might walk across the street instead of them in the night and that kind of stuff. We have imposed that. Even me, for example, I grew up as a kid and, you know, unfortunately the Indian person is always the one, this, you know, if you're naughty, this uncle is going to come and kidnap you, and it's all that kind of things that we've been using. We have been using
many negative
you know, the same thing. And that's where the stereotypes come from, you know, the fact that certain people say that some races are lazy, some people are just obsessed with money and all these kind of things. Yes, there are stereotypes. Some of them might be true with some people, but really we cannot kind of collectively identify people with certain particular traits.
Describe your project that you're doing that actually does sort of demystifies this or tries to break the stereotypes.
I mean, one project I did a couple of years ago was called 50 by 50 My Malaysia, and it was really to kind of commemorate 50 years of Malaysia Day. I went to 13 states in 15 days. We went to a different state everyone, just to collect stories from random people on the street. Because what I wanted to do with that is to show that across all the different states, there's so many things that we can identify with.
What's your message to the people who do say you are a foreigner? You know, go back to China, and in your case, I guess, go back to Malacca, I suppose, or Portugal.
Yeah,
I'm not sure where, but
yeah.
But what is your message to?
I think my first question to them would be like, what makes you think that I'm a pendatang? What is it about me that is pendatang? What is it about my history and my family's history is different from yours? And then we see how different we are, you know.
But Niki, do you think everybody then has a role?
I think so. I think as long as you feel passionate about something, you have to go out and work on either a project, or, there's a lot of people who are going on Facebook and creating pages and sharing photos and doing...
Or add a little column says Malaysian.
Yeah, and I started off with Random Alphabets, which was basically this group that we were seen as like doing crazy flash mobs, but they all had very egalitarian concepts within that. Everybody can do little things, and what's great about those projects is it empowers more people to go out and do even more projects. And I would say that those were the people who inspired me to go out and do my little 50 by 50, my little Pulau Tujuh, and the project I'm working this year.
Well, thank you, Niki. Empowering Malaysians to be more empowered and to be truly Malaysians. Be sure to check out his blog, Niki Cheong.